It's here, the episode that we have been teasing for the last year. What have we been up to? What are we doing? We made some big claims like we're going to transform the property investment industry. Well, finally, in this episode, we reveal all.
Welcome to the Property Podcast, where every Thursday morning, property investors come to be informed and inspired. But it's not every Thursday morning that we have an episode like this. Yes, we are finally spilling the beans, and we're so excited to be doing so.
Rob, I am really excited to record this episode. I've not needed a coffee to get up for this one. This is I'm ready. So should we do it? So Rob, I'm going to give you a drum roll. Please reveal all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are very, very proud to be launching Portfolio.
Yes, Portfolio is an app that you'll be able to get on your iPhone and Android that allows you to become a property investor in a few minutes. There is nothing else like that. You can do banking on your phone. You can invest in stocks on your phone. You can invest in Bitcoin on your phone. But yet you don't have the experience of being a property investor through your phone. Well, we've just changed the game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, you can download the app, you can deposit some funds, and you can buy into the portfolio. But the really important thing that sets this apart from any other hands-off way you can invest in property is you really feel like an investor. So this isn't just an app that you go onto and shuffle a bit of money around and never go back to it again. On the app, you'll be getting regular updates about your portfolio, and you'll really get to know the properties within it, because we're going to be posting updates. We're going to be taking you on video tours. Every single month, there's going to be a special video update showing you what properties have been added to the portfolio, showing you all the events that have been going on. And you'll actually be involved because you'll get to give your opinion on what you think should happen with the portfolio. So it's a hands-off way of investing in property that still really captures the experience and the fun and the excitement of what investing property is all about.
Yeah, and that was really important to us. Yes, it's important that people can now become a property investor with Portfolio really quickly. But it's also making sure that that fun, that excitement, the buzz that you get through property investment stays. And that's absolutely what we're delivering through Portfolio. This has been a huge project for us. It's not just building the technology, but it's actually the financial instruments that this is built upon as well, is a large part of why this has taken so long for us to bring it to market. Rob, what is it built on?
Yeah, behind the scenes, we've structured it as something you may have heard of, which is called a real estate investment trust, often called a REIT because it's less of a mouthful. And we chose that structure because it's super mainstream and it allows anyone to invest. There are billions of pounds invested in REITs in the UK. Most of them commercial. There are a handful of residential REITs. But we thought it was the perfect structure for what we're trying to do here. So it's worth briefly talking generically about REITs so you can understand what a REIT is and why people invest in them. And a REIT is basically a special type of company that is specifically set up for the purpose of owning and renting out property. And what it basically means is that the company holds a portfolio of property, and as an investor in that REIT, you're exposed to the performance of all the property within it. So you effectively qualify for a share of the income that all the properties pay out, and if the properties grow in value, then your share becomes worth more. And the other really cool thing about it is that as more people invest, the portfolio grows. And as it does, you, again, get exposed to the performance of that property. So you don't have to go and pick out a property to invest in. You can buy into a whole portfolio of property that keeps on growing.
So who's Portfolio for? Well, the people we've built it for will fall into a few categories. There are going to be people who just have no time to get started with property. If you're listening to this and you've not built your portfolio up as much as you've wanted to, or you've not even been able to get started yet, maybe you've procrastinated, or maybe you've just not had the time to do all the things you need to do to become a property investor, because the reason we have the property podcast is there is a lot to do. Now, if you're in that position, that you're not as far on as you wanted to be, then Portfolio allows you to fast forward that process. You can expand your portfolio by just investing through the app. Your exposure to property can be increased in minutes rather than months. The convenience it brings is incredible. The other kind of obvious thing with property is that you need a lot of money to invest. And we know a lot of you listening are saving up the funds for that first property. Well, if you choose to go via portfolio, you don't have to save as much now.
Now, the other thing about needing to save up so much to have a whole deposit to invest in a property is that obviously having more than one property is even harder. So it's really difficult to get diversification when you're owning property directly. So portfolio will be really interesting for someone who's concerned about that, nervous about it, and wants to have more diversification. Because, like I said, you end up getting exposure to a whole portfolio of properties rather than just one. And it's also an option for anyone who's a bit nervous about property and kind of wants to dip their toe in it a bit. So if you like the sound of what we talk about on the podcast, you're into the idea of property, but it's not something you've done so far, you're right to be cautious because there is a lot to learn in property. And portfolio could be a really nice way of using it as kind of a stepping stone, a way to get some exposure to property and to learn about it, to see what happens without having to make that huge commitment of going for a whole buy-to-let. So Rob, there are lots of people who we, of course, think should be really excited about portfolio, and we will talk about how to get involved. But I think it's worth saying as well that there are some people who are just not going to be interested at all. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be excited by the fact that we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like we have other businesses right now that you may or may not be aware of. It's the operation of those businesses, the exposure that we have as a team to property that gives us so much knowledge to share. So we will be passing that knowledge on. So the Property Podcast is only going to get better because we're doing even more exciting things now at Property Hub. And running portfolio will give us even more experience, even more knowledge, more case studies that we can pass on to you, more data to feedback as well. Like this podcast is going to become such a rich resource. Hopefully you already think it is. But if you're thinking, you know what, you guys are operating at a 7 or an 8, well, we want to take it up a few more notches. And we're able to do that now because we're revising a property fund. We've run property businesses for a decade. We have been property investors for longer. But all that experience are now being layered up further, which means that we can make the Property Podcast the best it can be. So we're really excited over the coming months and years. Hopefully going to carry on podcasting for a long time yet. All this new information, all this new data, all this new experience, which means that you listening are going to benefit.
Now, like we said back at the start, this is something we've been working on for a long time. It's something that it feels like we've been hinting at for a ridiculously long time. And they've definitely got a feeling of finally being able to get it all out in the open today. But the reason for that is it's taken us a really long time to get to this point. It's taken longer than we thought it would to get to this point because this isn't an idea that we've just come up with, but it's something that we've done a massive, massive amount of work on and spent a massive amount of money on as well to get it to this point now where we're ready to go. And as you might expect, it's not been plain sailing to get to this point.
Why have we done all this? Like, we could have gone for an easy life and not done it. So why? Well, of course it's exciting, but beyond that, it allows us to execute the strategy we talk about on the podcast all the time. We do that in a little way through Property Hub Invest, but it allows us to really expand on that. So what you hear us talking about in the podcast is exactly the same strategy we'll be adopting for portfolio. We see property as a long-term wealth creation vehicle. Property for us is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not something you put a bit of money in and suddenly you got bags of cash a week later. But if you take the long-term view to property, you can do very well. Also, the businesses that we have currently only serve a really small number of you. So we work with a few hundred clients every year, but there are tens of thousands of you in the Property Hub community. And we now can say, you know what? We can help the majority of you. And also, you may have heard in the news and the press, and we talked about it on Ask Rob and Rob on Tuesday, that a lot of corporations are moving into this sector. They're muscling their way in. You've got the pension companies who want a piece of this pie. John Lewis are going in. Lloyd's Bank are throwing their hat into the ring. They see how lucrative property can be over the long term. They want their piece. And you know what? Why should the individual not have a piece too? And before it was just individuals with large chunks of money. But we don't think that's right. And portfolio changes that for a lot of people. And that, for us, makes it all worthwhile. And of course, Rob, we absolutely believe in property as an asset class.
We wouldn't have got this far if we didn't believe in property. We've been doing this for over 8 years now, and we've been doing that because we believe in it. We're not saying it's the only thing to invest in. It's not saying it's something that everyone should put all their money into. Of course not. but it's an asset class that excites us and that we believe does have huge benefits. And we spent all this time trying to educate people about property and share the knowledge and allow more people to get involved if they want to. But if we can do that more directly as well and open up property investment to more people, then although it hasn't been easy getting to this point at all, it will totally have been worth it.
I think it's worth saying as well that tenants will really benefit from this too. It's up in the levels of the type of homes that are on the market. Better facilities, better service, better products. This is what the corporations are doing, and this is what we are going to do as well. So tenants will win. I'll let you into a little secret. While we've been teasing it for just over a year, the concept of this has been around for many years in our heads. And the reason why is we want to allow as many people to become property investors as possible. Because as Rob said, we believe in property investment. We're passionate about property investment. We think that as an asset class, it's fantastic and should be part of your investment mix. Yes, of course, we're biased because we are the property podcast, but you've heard the evidence of the last 400 plus episodes of why you should entertain property as an option to invest in. But we also know that so many of you have been held back for different reasons. And now we've taken those reasons away. Portfolio is something that's going to change the property investment industry. And we're so excited that we're able to now bring this to you. And obviously, the next step, Rob, is telling people how to get involved, because people are probably going to the App Store right now and going, I can't see it. And that's because it's not live yet. So when is it going live, and what can people do in the meantime?
Don't worry, there's not long to wait. We're not going to leave you hanging again. There is going to be a waiting list though, and the way to join that waiting list is to go to portfolio.co.uk. Join the waiting list there, and within a matter of weeks, we intend to start letting the first people in. And in the meantime, you can find us on all the socials at Property Hub UK. So until we see you next, enjoy your week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.